This presentation is brought to you by Smoooth Productions.
Welcome to another edition of your Wednesday Night Sports Delight, the platform sports talk show. What's going on, party people? It is your boy Smooth. That's Smooth with not one, not two, but three O's, y'all. Welcome to another edition of your you turn around. Yep, you right there. Up, you in the back. Yep, that's right. You right there. Welcome to your Wednesday Night Sports Delight. It's the main show. The Platform Sports Talk Show Network goes down every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. So, yes, you are about to be blessed. Now, I know NBA Finals start about 7:30. So, you can go ahead and, either watch the show or you can also tune in on different type of ways. And let me show you how, because simply, just follow the Platform Sports Talk Show all across social media. We on Facebook, we on the X, we on Instagram. We're live right now on Instagram, y'all. We also, you can go on YouTube, subscribe and click on that bell so anytime we go live, just like right now, you will be notified. And I said before that if you can't watch the show because, the game coming on at 7:30, I know you want to be, together and ready to go. If you don't want to have a multiple screen going, you can also tune in on Hot 365 Radio. Just go on your phone, just put in hot365radio.com or go to the App Store, whether it's iOS or Android, and put in Hot 365 Radio. Listen to this incredible show and so many other shows from the Platform Sports Talk Show Network in high definition. All of our voices, I guarantee you, we sound so sexy over the air. I'm just saying, this is how we sound. That's how we do it. You can also tune in on twitch.tv/hot365 radio as well. And you can catch the replay of our most recent show each and every Sunday at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. Now, for those wondering, hey, I was tuning on Sunday like I was, and I didn't hear it. They had a little issue with the radio station and the app, but hopefully this Sunday, everything will be back working and sounding high def. Tonight, every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, and also every Sunday at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. Shouts out to the best panel of ladies who love sports. The Ladies Night Crew goes down every first Wednesday of the month. They had an incredible show last week. Shouts out to Bunny. Shouts out to the wifey for holding it down. Those two did an amazing job. Great conversations. And we're going to have some more tonight. And every last Wednesday of the month, it is the Man Cave. And the last show, we dealt with a whole lot in regards to just some technical issues, starting late. Technology didn't want us to be great, but the show was still amazing. And it's the reason why the tagline is where anything can go down. And that definitely is the truth, where anything on the Man Cave can go down. And then outside of sports talk, I need y'all, everyone who's watching right now, go on YouTube as well and just put in Smooth Conversation, Smooth with 3 O's. Like, subscribe, share the word about this amazing show I've had since July of last year. Almost a year, y'all, of Smooth Conversations. Great conversations with people who are doing such amazing things and having their stories told. So check that out on YouTube. Also on KBDR Beat District Radio. Just go to the website, beatdistrictradio.com. and you'll listen in every Thursday at 6 p.m., whether it's a live show or a best of show, it will definitely be on KBDR Beat District Radio. Go to the website or go to the App Store, whether it's on Google or iOS, and put in KBDR Beat District Radio, and you are good to go. And before I bring in the panel this evening, I got to also promote my wife's event going down on June 21st. Calling out all the fathers, all the all the men out there who are father figures. It's the Daddy Daughter Dance brought to you by G for Well Girls for Life, Saturday, June 21st from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Scan the QR code if you're watching right now, or you can register at www.g4lstl.org. Once again, you can scan the QR code for those watching, or if you're listening, just go to www.g4lstl.org. It's $25 per dad and daughter, and additional $5 if you have an additional daughter. So let's make it happen, men. Let's show up, let's show out, and let's show our daughters and the little girls who we may consider a daughter. Let's show them how we can hold things down for them and show them the way during this important time in our lives at this moment. So, with that being said, I think I'm done saying a little bit of what I'm saying right now with the promo. It's time to bring on the panel. Up first, she is the host of Ladies Night. She's ready to go in the kitchen. She's gonna have her own show very soon, y'all, called the Freaking Frack Show. So stay tuned. It might be produced by Smoooth Productions. So stay tuned for that. It's gonna be amazing. It's gonna be funny. It's gonna be heartwarming. So stay tuned for that. Before I bring her on, shouts out to our favorite fan, Miss Dub, showing love. And yes, Ladies Night was so much fun. So, once again, she's the host of Ladies Night. She's ready to rock and roll. Bunny, what's happening with you? And take yourself off mute. I got you.
Thank you, because you already know. What's up? Happy Hump Day. What's going on?
Happy Hump Day. And I know this show will be going on before the weekend, of course. So, to all the men as well, outside of June 21st and the Day Daughter Dance, to all the fathers out there, the real men out there. Happy upcoming Father's Day as well. So salute to you, and we hope that on behalf of the Platform Sports Talk Show Network, that the fathers are celebrated in the way that they deserve to be celebrated in the right way. So shouts out to all the fathers out there. Bunny, I just saw Frick. Where's
You
Frank?
did. I don't know, but if I bring them in together, we won't be able to get through the show. Only got an hour, and they're going to take over half of it. So we do not solicit them unless warranted. Okay.
Right. So let's go ahead and do this. Bring Bunny back on the screen here because uh I do have an announcement. We have a welcoming addition to the Platform Sports Talk Show Network. It happened sometime around last Friday that we have a new addition to the family. So everyone, say what's up, show some love for a lifetime for the newest edition of the Platform Sports Talk Show family. Baby Clark, the new superhero from Joe and Brendan. So everyone, go ahead and leave comments, thumbs up, say what's up, Clark. And you know
Mm-hmm.
Jobo is real big on the superheroes, so she got her own little superhero bundle of joy. And she had her baby last Friday. She got induced
Mm-hmm.
Friday, and she's doing very well. Her and Brendan are doing amazing. And Mia, the oldest daughter, is living like Sasha right now. Bunny being the older sister now. So
Mm-hmm.
I was telling Bunny prior to the show that got the freaking frack. Joe gonna have hers in a couple years. Have her own reality show
Mm-hmm.
with the kids. Uh, Bunny, just your thoughts in regards to being a mother of two wonderful kids.
Hey, I wouldn't trade it in the world for nothing. It's never a dull moment, never quiet. Don't know what to expect sometimes. Other times it's like, here we go. Because some days it's all laugh and giggle. Other days I am a referee. I'm better than the NBA refs out there in the finals, y'all. I'm telling you, I'm refereeing so cold with it. Then when I do separate them, they want to cry and get back together. It's like, well, if y'all together and y'all not getting along, why y'all crying when I separate y'all? Like, make this make sense.
Right.
But love them to death. And even though we're gonna celebrate Father's Day in a few days, but shout out to the freaking Frack Show. Like I know that's my unofficial name for them because I have that personal nicknames. But when they're together, y'all, I'm telling you, it's nothing scripted, okay?
Hmm.
And nothing left untouched on the floor, walls, or anything.
Right.
Yeah, but I love it. I
So
love it.
once again, congratulations to Joe. We hope to see her back around maybe late August, September. So enjoy your summer, summer of love. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
With a much fuller house now.
Right.
But
It's an
I know she's
adjustment, but once she gets adjusted, then it just goes to the flow of things. When you
right,
gotta,
right, right.
battling the infant stage part, and then still gotta take care of a toddler. You figure out your balance, and then it's gonna be easy peasy with the asthma.
Exactly, exactly. So with that being said, I have another addition, another surprise for everyone. This person is returning. She is back. She's been gone for a minute, but she's been taking care of some business, and she's already repping her squad. See, I'm repping my squad in the NL Central, and right now she's repping hers. And we're going to catch up and welcome her back to the Platform Sports Talk Show Network. She's a teacher. She's a three-time champion from the St. Louis Slam. Da,
Dun,
da, da.
dun,
Oh,
dun,
oh,
dun,
and when I
dun,
say
dun.
Bunny, the St. Louis Slam and the whole league is truly doing amazing things. Like ESPN is broadcasting them like
That's what's
like
up.
not just like doing the championship, it's like doing throughout the whole season. So the women's professional football league is, and I know y'all had the conversation last week about the growth of women's sports. You
Mm-hmm.
and Jayance,
Mm-hmm.
and I know this woman here will speak more on it, and so much more. As I am proud to bring back to the Platform Sports Talk Show Network, Annie. What is happening?
Hey, everybody.
Hey,
Hey,
hey.
Annie.
It's so fitting that, like I said before, I'm rocking the Cardinals, and of course, you got to rock the NL Central Division foes, the
Your,
Pittsburgh
your
Pirates.
future champs
But
right
it's not
here.
a, it's we're not threatened by it. Now I thought she was gonna represent the Cowboys because then I was gonna get a nice chuckle. But we'll let
There
her
you go.
represent that. But they're not threatening to the Cardinals. So do
There
you,
you
boo.
go. Good to see you too, Miss Williams. No, I decided to wear the soon to be MLB champions, the Pittsburgh Pirates. We may be down, but we're not out. So we've got like 90 something games left to turn things around.
Turn it
And
all the way around. Right, right.
to
I think
turn
that's
it
the model the
around.
organization goes into every season saying we may be down but not out. Even before the season starts, because they know they're not gonna start off on top. But hey.
We like surveying the landscape first, getting a lay of the land,
Mm-hmm.
letting everybody do their thing first.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when we make our move. You know, it's like a good Kentucky Derby horse. We let everybody wear
Mm.
themselves out for the first three legs, and then we come back kicking in the home stretch. So that's what we're
Mm.
going to do this year. We're going to be your surprise champions.
Okay.
And
Okay.
so that's why I decided to represent in advance, because when we win, I don't want a bunch of people being like, oh, I'm a Pirates fan. I love the black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow. I don't want any of that.
Oh,
None
Listen
of
to
oh,
that.
me. She calling y'all
oh.
out. She calling
Okay.
None
y'all
of
out.
that. Okay. I don't want to see nobody rocking a Pirates hat for clout
She is
because
calling
you
y'all
weren't with
out.
us when when we were down. So don't be with us when we up.
Okay, so no fair weather fans. I wonder who. I wonder if there's someone I know, Bunny, who may be a fair weather fan.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Hmm. Miss Dub said baseball's a long season, but according to the Pirates, they know they have to start off down and out. They start off knowing they don't have a chance. But I love that about that organization. You know,
This is
and
about the
I will
time when you
say
turn
I do
21.
like McCutcheon that he's back with the Pirates. I am rooting for McCutcheon though. And just broke that record today. Shout out to him. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yes. Congratulations. So, before we continue on, because Annie, I know it's been a minute since you've been on the show. For those who may not know, why don't you tell everyone just a little bit about what's been going on in your world since the last time we've had you on these airwaves?
I work in the nonprofit social justice sector. So if you've been following any news, you kind of know what I've been dealing with for the last 6 months or so. And then I've been teaching at a university that has also made the news quite a bit lately. So I have summers off. So that's what allows me to join you all during the summer. And then in the fall, I think my class is on Wednesdays. So I won't be here in the fall. Again, because I'll be back teaching research. Not with my kiddos, because I teach master's level graduate students. So they're full adults, but I like calling them my kiddos. But I'm glad I get to spend the summer. We get to watch the Pirates' amazing turnaround together. We get to watch the St. Louis Slam go for their 6th championship this year. We get to watch some new mid-city become NBA champions
Right,
and crown someone a new superstar. As Clippers fans, we get to mourn that we basically gave SGA away.
right.
Nothing, only to watch him do what he's doing now with OKC, which is very painful, which is why I'm going for the Pacers. We'll have time to go through mandatory minicamp and preseason with the Cowboys and the NFL. So we have time to do lots of stuff together this summer. Looking forward to
Yeah.
it.
Looking forward to it. So speaking on St. Louis Slam, as I brought up earlier, how the growth of that league, the women's professional football league, is just going. It's just getting amazing in regards to getting more broadcasting from ESPN. So as you're seeing that from before, what's your thoughts in regards to the rise of the league?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, shout out to the Slam, my team forever. Um, Many shout out to uh, the Pittsburgh Passion, who I also played for a season. Um, so I think the best thing that happened to the WFA when it consolidated like 3 other leagues several years ago, more than a decade now, is the competition from the WFNZ. I think that competition is what drives growth in sport altogether. We've seen that in male sports, that when you have two competing leagues, that it creates the competition necessary to get the best out of folks, whether that's players, whether that's owners, whether that's cities and markets. And so we're at a place now with women's sports where we're starting to see that competition that really sparked the growth of the male leagues that we enjoy today, whether it was the NBA and the ABA, whether it was the AFL and the NFL, having the competition between those leagues. What we get to see in women's sports now with competition, whether it's from the WFNC and the WFA, which is the league that the St. Louis Slam play in, whether it's the Unrivaled Basketball League and how they did some unique things that challenged the WNBA. And will probably make the WNBA rethink some things as a result of that competition. What we get to see with women's sports is that it's not race driven, which it often was for male sports. Usually what separated the two leagues was where were Black people allowed to play. And so without race driving this conversation, we get to see how competition truly does bring the best out of competitive sports. And so I'm excited for the WFA. I feel like they've done some things over the last 2 or 3 years that are moves that they may not have made if the WFNC wasn't innovating, wasn't taking on some new things, wasn't really pushing the envelope, particularly with them being the smaller league. And so I think we're seeing like the best of the WFA. And I think we're seeing the best out of the teams themselves as well. Not just out of the Slam, who looks unstoppable most Saturdays, but a lot of the teams that are in Division I. I think that this is probably the most wide open that that competition has been. The league is doing right by Division II and Division III teams in terms of helping to develop them so that they can move up to Division I. Last week, the number 1 rated women's sports team in all of the Massey ratings, so they cover women's professional sports, collegiate sports, like any sport, that there was a Division II team in the WFA that's rated the number 1 women's sports team in the entire country across collegiate sports, professional sports, those sorts of things, and they're Division II. And so you just see like the talent developing, you're seeing the skill developing, you're seeing flag football really take off at like the secondary school levels, like middle school and high school. A number of St. Louis Slam players are coaching the local flag teams at their local high schools, both on the Missouri side and the Illinois side, for those who live closer to East St. Louis. And so you're seeing the game develop younger, which has always been another like component that was missing for like women's sports. You had women who weren't playing until they became like adults. Like if I had like football, like in middle school, high school, those sorts of things, like I definitely would have played then. I didn't play football until, I was like 27 or 28, however old I was with my first year with Pittsburgh. And then didn't play with the Slam until I was in my 30s, right? And so while those were great years, those weren't my best physical years, like, but that's always been like a challenge with women's sports, is that a lot of those opportunities aren't available, and the leagues that develop for adults. But now we're seeing an investment in developing like kids and youth in the same way that like, UAA has developed for like men's basketball, right? And even women's basketball. We're seeing the greatest era of women's talent in basketball at the college level and at the WNBA level as well. Just like we're seeing it at the NBA level. We're like from player 1 to player 12, more talented rosters than at any other time in the history of the NBA. And so we're seeing some of those critical elements that were key for developing men's sports happening in women's sports now. And it's a really exciting time to get involved. Now is the time to get on the bandwagon. Now is the time to be a casual fan, jump in and out of games, pick a favorite player or a favorite team, learn the rules, because rules are often different between women's sports. Get to know the officiating. That's the thing that like my biggest pet peeve about the WNBA is for people who don't watch women's basketball, who are like, they're hurting her. And it's like, you clearly have never watched a women's basketball game be reffed. If you think that people are being extra tough on like Caitlin Clark, like that's just women's basketball. They let them be more physical.
Right.
And so for all the men who are crying about like 90s basketball and you used to be able to hip check and body slam people in Michael Jordan's day, you would probably love women's basketball. because they officiate the game a lot. There are no SGAs in the WNBA. There are no Johnsons in the WNBA. There is no foul grifting. There is no, oh my gosh, he blew on her. So let's call a foul and shoot some foul shots. There's none of that. So if you love a more physical game, and it's the same thing with women's football, like it's hard hitting, it's fast moving, it's everything that people who opine that like the NFL has gotten soft. It's everything that people wish that they had from those sports because the officiating is different. So it's an exciting time to be on board with women's sports.
Yeah, definitely is, and definitely very well said. Miss Dub asked, when and where is the championship game?
The championship is probably sometime in July. So I think there's 2 or 3 games left in the WFA season, and then they'll have the playoffs. So it tends to be like 3rd or 4th weekend in July. It'll be broadcast on ESPN again, the championship. But I believe the Slams still have 1 more home game, if not 2 more home games. They're ranked number 1 in Division I, so they'll probably be hosting playoff games. So go check out a playoff game. So I guess the assumption is that they'll host at least 2 of those if they handle their business, unlike the Battlehawks. And so you can see championship level football in St. Louis.
That's what's up. That's what's up. We'll talk about the Battlehawks in a second, but let's go ahead and get right into our topics here. You now have my attention. What sports story or stories has your attention? Bunny, you go first.
I'm off mute. Yes. Could be a plethora of things, but one of the main things is, besides the NBA finals going on, we do have the WNBA with the New York Liberty being undefeated right now. I was like, okay, they are kicking behind. Okay, them women are doing it, and that's not a Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese narrative right there. The New York Liberty are thorough together. I don't know what the odds at the beginning of the season if they were picked to win it all, but they're playing like, yeah, they want it. They hungry for it. So shout out to them. That definitely had my attention. Also, that NCAA settlement, or not settlement, the judge's ruling on the NCAA saying that colleges can directly pay athletes. So again, we're right before the football season for college, and we're going to see how this plays out because there's still a lot of moving parts with that. It's not just paying athletes directly. It's not just Division I schools. Apparently, Division II schools can capture this, and the ruling has it going back to athletes from 2018, I believe. So prior to those other athletes, I don't know how this is going to play. It's a lot of moving parts, but definitely had my attention because y'all always know how I felt. Athletes should have been paid. I always said the NCAA is a cartel. Now the cartel is crumbling down. And again, we still have to throw an NIL with this. So this is definitely a lot of moving parts and a lot of layers to this. So can't wait to see how this pans out. But I'm happy that they did decide play those players and that school directly are treating them like employees.
Yep. When you heard about the NCAA ruling, Annie, what were your thoughts?
I still think that there's a lot of unfinished business there. I think it's different to say that schools can make direct payments and schools treating them like employees who would have like insurance and healthcare, and potentially union rights. And so I don't think that we are fully there where they're being treated like they bring in as much money as like the faculty. But I mean, I'm all for people getting paid. I just really hope that, I think financial autonomy means you get to do whatever you want with your money, even if it's poor decisions. And I think there are a lot of people making poor financial decisions. And so I do hope that there is a growth around the space of like agents and financial advisors for these kids to really, to just help negotiate those deals and really get the most out of their time there. But also someone who's helping them think long term as well. I think for people who are not used to handling large sums of money, that every payoff in the near term seems better than a longer term payoff. But I think people who are used to handling large sums of money know that sometimes you give a little here to get a lot on the back end or those sorts of things, and really helping people assess like their brand. Like, yes, you might make X amount of dollars at Duke if you play 1 year, but this like mid-major school is willing to pay you more. And so then you're going there for a second year, and then this other school is willing to pay you more. But being like the man at Duke, like being Cooper Flag at Duke for 3 years ultimately pays more, and you probably have more consistent development and those sorts of things. And so just helping people to like make better long-term moves and not just be like, okay, well, this is the next check in front of me, so I'm going to take that. And I don't think that there's a lot of people helping people to think through like their long-term moves. And I'm probably just a little salty at like Elliot Cadeau. Like, I don't think he's a starting point guard for Carolina. And it's like, you were on every single commercial during like the NCAA tournament. Like every single commercial has Carolina in it, and he was in it and like out front. And now he's going to, I don't know, did he go to Michigan? I don't even know where he went, and that's the problem.
He did leave. Right.
Yeah, I think he went to Michigan. I don't know where he went, but that's the problem. And it's just like, if this was a money move, first of all, if it was a basketball move, like it's not like you went to like the Guard Whisperer or something. Like you didn't go to like Calipari or something like that, right? But if it was like a financial move or something, like being the man at Carolina gets you something different, not just in terms of like an initial check or whatever they're cutting, but what you could have in the long term being attached to something that has its own brand. And so I just wish that with the influx of money that they're able to get through this new payment avenue, that the field itself develops more quickly to help these young folks out and to make smarter money moves, make smarter branding moves. I mean, you see with Iya Malayiava, quarterback who was like Tennessee, who just like walked in the coach's office and was like, I want to make $4 million now. And they were like, or we'll just cut you. Like, we're not paying that. And like, doesn't really have a team. Now, I still don't know where he ended up. But it's probably not the $4 million he was hoping for. And it was just like, you did not have the negotiating power in that deal. That was not the way to like make that move. And just ultimately like hurting themselves. So I just hope that the financial sector around them develops to really help students maximize this. Otherwise, this becomes yet another valve where the people who have access, have people in their corner who have financial sense, have access to attorneys and those sorts of things will benefit. And the people who have not historically had access to those things will find themselves on some 30 for 30 later about the millions that they blew from their college career. And now they're all living in a trap house with with a gang of like Dallas Cowboys receivers, because apparently none of them spent their money well. So they'll be with like T.O. and Des Bryant and a trap house somewhere doing like a 30 for 30 on how they blew all their money. So
Mm-mm.
You just thinking the whole works, huh? Nobody's gonna make it out with that
Man.
balloon. She just went straight to the extreme.
I mean, we've
I'm not
already
Oh,
seen
saying
it with
that it's gonna be
NIL.
athletes that don't manage funds correctly, but think about this. Anybody that's young right now, 20-year-olds, 25, hell, y'all know NBA players in their 30s, when they get out the league, they'll be broke. NFL, MLB, soccer players. It's just on that person how they manage money. Now, start younger. Yes, 20, 25-year-olds, there's some lack of financial responsibility because this is new to them. But I don't think the worst, as long as they put the right person in place, maybe the coach, maybe the general manager like Mizzou just hired, coaches them along. Hey, you get a lot of money, but it's not guaranteed. You may not, invest it, like do whatever, but it's not doom and gloom. But it could be a slippery slope for some, but not all. Think about those college kids that graduate and start off making six figures, and who are they? Like engineers, and they're the same age group as the athletes. They're not making millions, but it's still a sum of money. Six figures is a lot of money for somebody who hasn't had it before. So I just say it can go both ways, but I'm not thinking doom and gloom for most of them, especially you have the ones that won't be maybe getting six figures. They may get a 30,000 NIL deal here from the school. May get 15,000. So everybody not gonna get those big lump sums either. Majority of them will get smaller amounts.
and I want to piggyback off of what Andy said. I got a couple points. Because I saw something on St. Louis Sports Central with Randy Carricker today, and he talked about the same thing Andy did, that there may be an advantage for mid-major programs like a SLU who don't have a football team that can just focus on the basketball team and provide more money to a player compared to Mizzou, which has to worry about money from football and basketball and gymnastics and wrestling, which all those sports are very big sports at Mizzou. So the money that they have to pay those players, the bucket, because I believe if I read right, like every team, every university is going to be getting like $20 million to spend to their sports teams. And like I said, if that's true, then once again you have to worry about, okay, well, SLU doesn't have a team, a football team. So now you can probably reach out and say, well, hey, I can offer you more money than this school here or that school there, unless, of course, like you said before, Bunny, you have the NIL. So that plays a role. But in regards to just from the school itself, it can be a boom for mid and major teams. So I look forward to that. Something else that had my concern. Now I'm a big advocate of wanting players to get paid because they deserve to, especially when their merchandise is being sold and you wasn't making a profit off of it. Or back in the day when you had the games on, college football games and the players are being played or whatever, but they weren't getting paid. Now they are getting paid. But my only concern is that, and it kind of brings over Andy brought up at the end as well, is now that you're going to get this money being 18, 19 years old, like you really have to step up and be an adult just like that because you're getting so much money. And I just hope that it doesn't diminish the style of play that we see on the field or the basketball court or whatever sport that you're playing. Okay, 'cause you know how some people, even in the professional leagues, they get that big paycheck and all of a sudden their game, they don't have that hungry as they did before they got paid. So it's like, oh, now I got paid. I don't have to do as much. I just want to do just enough so I can still get to the league while you're cheating your university and your teammates who may not be getting the same money that you're getting, the same fame that you're getting, but they're trying to still get to a certain place in their career as well. So I hope that doesn't diminish the game where the payment is the only thing that really matters. Because if that does, that can really hurt the product all across NCAA. So that's my concern. Like I said, I'm a big advocate because players deserve to get paid. But now that is here, and now university can pay, I just hope that it doesn't diminish the game. My last thing, and I've said this for a few years now, I wish and I hope that the NCAA considers either you go straight to the league, or if you in college, you have to at least play 2 years just to give the college an opportunity to get to know your name, except for just one season. Much respect to the one and dones, but like I said before, I feel like there needs to be some kind of, especially if you get NIL deals and the school is paying you money, it shouldn't be just a pay for just 1 year and thanks for your services. Have a good life. Give us at least 2 years so we can build something special for those 2 years. Maybe you say, you know what, I'm really enjoying my time here. I want to keep on continuing to build. You never know, but look at these teams that's been winning championships recently. It hasn't been because of the one and dones. It's been because you've had a couple seniors on that team. Now, maybe the transfer portal did happen as well, but you still have people who have been in school 3, 4 years, some maybe 5, who had that experience, and it helps that team grow and be even better. So, those are my takeaways. Your thoughts on that, Annie?
So I think realignment in the NCAA has hurt the product more so than NIL and payments directly from schools. College sports are deeply personal things. And so it's what was your alma mater, what was the school you grew up rooting for, but also who was the school you grew up hating. And so with the constant realignment and the condensing into fewer and fewer conferences, you're taking away the magic that was college sports, which is that it's hyper regional, it's hyper local, and the rivalries and the animus that built up between teams and those sorts of things. And so I feel like taking that structure away where I came to college sports as a Carolina fan, having gone there, which naturally means I eventually came to watch the rest of the ACC. And now I miss most of the games because I'm not watching Stanford. I'm not staying up to watch a West Coast Stanford versus whatever Washington State team or Oregon team that we've let in. And they probably don't care about us and our rivalry with Duke. And so I feel like realignment has hurt the product more so than being able to pay players, and also takes away the money that comes from the condensed leagues and the the TV deals isn't necessarily trickling down to players, right? So that goes into the coffers of the ADs for the most part, and the NCAA itself, which is like a self-appointed government where no one asked for one. And so that it's not like it's benefiting the players. Like I said, if you play football for Alabama and you beat, let me do this. If you play for Michigan and you're on the team that beats Ohio State for years, that is probably a better financial move for you than to go to a different school every 4 years, even if the check gets $10,000 better each year, probably the way it would have ballooned once you become the Buckeye Slayer or whatever for your school, or the Demon Slayer, the Devil Slayer at Carolina. If you Hansborough never has to buy anything again in the state of North Carolina or near anybody who has sniffed the air around Carolina because he didn't lose to Duke in his 4 years at Carolina. He did not do anything in the NBA, but because he was the Devil Slayer, he never has to open his wallet again in that state. And so there is currency in that I think there aren't enough people around helping to manage these young people through and talk their families through and at least have the conversation. I mean, ultimately, like I said, with financial autonomy, people are allowed to make decisions even if they're bad ones. But I don't think that people fully understand the landscape, particularly when they come from families that have never handled the types of money that is being offered to them in lump sums. even if it is like a $30,000. Like if you have never been handled that in a lump sum, it could still like, it's not generational wealth, but it could still change financial trajectories, and even handling that $20,000 or $30,000 could be useful. The other thing is that at the federal level, there's an attack on Title IX as reverse discrimination in some way. I'm not going to get on like my politics soapbox, but that also has the potential to hurt women in sports in particular, because if there is no guidance around a certain percentage of this should be reinvested back in women's sports, then I may be like who was that team that Ashton Genty was on?
Boise State.
Yeah. I may be a Boise State and be like, okay, if I don't have the restrictions of Title IX and we sniff the playoffs, maybe we just throw all of our pie at our football team. And then you are cutting out money from some of your non-revenue generating sports, and particularly your women's sports, if there's not that federal guidance. And so I also think that this is happening at a time where there's other things that will shape the landscape. Like if the current federal administration gets its way with doing away with things like Title IX. And so I don't think it'll be like an everybody eats situation. I think without those guidance and those equity measures in place, that you'll just see teams throw their money at one sport that they want to be really good at, rather than spreading the wealth to the different athletes at their school who make a difference.
Yep. Great points. So, go ahead, Bunny.
Question. So let's go back to what you said, Fred. When you're talking about the 2-year rule, what is it again? If you said if you don't go straight to the league, then they have to stay in college for 2 years?
Right. At least 2 years.
So what's the purpose of that?
So once again, it's something you having to pay a player just for 1 year of service and they're gone. At least get some kind of continuity with that university, with that team. You know what I'm saying? It's something just having this one person that's going and saying hi and bye, especially if, for instance, Cooper Flagg or the Zion Williamsons. If they would have had the rule, they would have just been going right to the league and not wasting basically a year in college. So I've always been, even before the transfer portal and the NIL, I've always kind of been big on they need to either let these guys who were incredible go ahead and go right to the pros, or if you're in a school, you had to be in school for at least 2 years.
So now, the background conversation. You said the 2 years because it's for continuity. So if they don't go straight to the league, Chris, if they don't go straight to the league, then go 2 years in their college. So it gets continuity so that the body is restricted, or not restricted. The teams and all that can build that. Okay, so now the other question is, why is it when it comes to earning money, are there restrictions on you got to do so much a contract? So if you're a student that is on an academic scholarship, you don't have any tuition or room and board, and you can still go work and make more money, there's no restriction on that. And then that following year, you transfer to another school. They gave you that free scholarship, right? They can make that school look good for having somebody that's going to earn this degree and can hopefully give them nice donations when they graduate. But nope, that person goes to another school. There's no restriction on that either. So why is it with the players there's restriction on earning money for the school or NIL or whatever?
To me, it's not to me, that would be the closest thing to treating them like employees. Like, as a professor with a school, you would have like a contract, which would lock you into a certain number of years or until like your tenure or something comes up. And so I could see it being beneficial because with NIL, when you're paying for name, image, and likeness, that means that you can only pay them as long as their name, image, and likeness is attached to your school.
That's cool.
Versus a contract where you can say like an NBA contract where you're like, we're paying this amount for 2 years of your time. And so you can't just, and if you agree to sign that, right, then you can't just say like, well, I'm done here after like 3 months or whatever and go somewhere else. And so, but the other thing is that in being able to negotiate with the school directly, like as an employer, you could also have things like insurance so that if I get hurt in year two, right, like I still get some sort of financial compensation because I am an employee of an institution rather than while you're hurt, like what's his name, quarterback for Florida State, who came and then like got hurt, was terrible, like got death threats to like take away all his money, lost all
Uh,
his commercials.
I can't think of his name right now, but yeah.
I can't think of his name, but quarterback for Florida State, where it's like you're not playing well, and then they can just take away your deals. They can stop airing your Gatorade commercials. They can take away your money, sorts of things, because they no longer want your name, image, and likeness associated with them. Versus like me being like a 2-year contract employee, where like even if I get hurt, I still have certain protection. So I think it works out in everybody's favor to have something that comes closer to like a contract because it provides certain protections and guarantees for the student athletes. It also, as Smoooth mentioned, provides some continuity around planning in terms of like actual winning on the field, to know that like this is the same roster I'm going to have for at least like 2 years, or these are the building pieces that I have certainty about
Just
that
like,
I can
hey,
build
you
around.
know, we're gonna have the same
It
roster.
was Jordan Travis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I? You want to move on, or can I have one more comment? I know I only got a few minutes, but
Yeah, go ahead.
minor league system. So the minor league for baseball. Let's talk about them, or even hockey. They're 19 and 20-year-olds. They're on contract. They're not getting big money, but they are still an employee of that organization. The student, again, is on a contract with the school. I'm assuming there's going to be a contract involved. We're going to pay you directly. That's a minor league system. They're not amateurs. Once money is involved, you're not an amateur. You can be a rookie, but you're not an amateur. Now, with that, I'm just saying it may yeah, look, we know this is gonna be ongoing. It's a lot of stuff that has to be some parameters to try to make it balanced. But as you spoke about earlier, Smooth, you're afraid the game, kind of the integrity of people putting their all is not going to be there. That is correct. Once money is thrown in there, at least the records of players, of course that changes it. Now you look at the AAU circuit for basketball, big money maker. And these are, forget the high schoolers and middle schoolers. They're not making their money, at least knowingly, their money, but they're making somebody some money, right? They're drawing attention, drawing fans in. And that's amateurism, though, because they're not getting paid direct. But once that AAU circuit is big enough for these players, getting recruited, go to college, they're employees for that court decision. It's going to be no restrictions to me. Like throw parameters, but it shouldn't be restrictions because they are employees, and I don't think they should be 2 years. I get it from the coaching side. Hey, you need camaraderie because a lot of the basketball teams I notice, men and women, when it comes to March Madness, the teams that usually go a little further, they've been together a little longer too. Now everybody doesn't do the that one and done type stuff. Nobody is doing it, I guess, in droves like we used to see it, but it's still happening. But the continuity, it does make a difference. But what about the coaches who go to a school for a better offer, more money, bigger notoriety, and all those kids they recruited, they leave them hanging to go look out for themselves, right? A lot of players can't look out for themselves. That continuity is thrown off when that coach leaves. He had a whole coaching staff, got all them kids there, and then he's gone, and he's gonna do better for himself. So why athlete can't do it?
I mean, but truthfully, the players are getting paid, so they already are looking out for themselves.
And the coaches are under contract, right? So when we
right.
talk about like coaches just up and leaving, it's because there are mechanisms, either their contract is up or there are mechanisms to get them out of their contract. Like they can do like a buyout or something like that. And so same thing with like players.
That school is losing out on stuff with if that coach got those highly recruited players and then that coach leaves. That school was banking on that coach to get them farther, get the notoriety, and everybody like top 10 school. He's gone. Are we going to get that? Because what usually happens now, And coach that recruits them leave, the players leave. So the new coach come in, start all over. He may bring some of his players, depending where he came from, but it's not as hyped up because you just knew you had these top recruits and now they're gone. That throws the school up. They're like, damn, you left us empty-handed. We got to start this whole process all over.
Yeah, but I think that is like a rare occurrence in terms of the number of coaches or the number of schools that are able to pay for a buyout of a coach who is mid-contract. And so that's why you typically only see that happening with like the bigger name coaches or the bigger name schools, is because they can afford that buyout. And the same thing could happen for players.
I know mid-major D2 schools, especially in the conferences where my college is in, and those coaches left all the time. And you know they ain't getting the money like D1.
And they were under contract and buying out their
They won't
contract.
be the buyout, but let's just say if the contract was, like I said earlier, it's over and then moving somewhere else, or somebody's poaching them because they know the contract is about to be up. But I'm saying, you're saying like the buyout part, okay, maybe it is on D1 because they had a lot more money, but coaches, I was saying, still leave all the time, even on the mid-major and lower tier schools.
Yeah, when their contract is up, and it would be the same thing for players. Like if I only sign a 1 year deal, then I'm leaving after 1 year. I'm saying what schools paying directly as employees has the opportunity to do is to get people on multi-year deals, whereas you can't do a multi-year deal on name, image, and likeness. And so that's what I'm saying, is that it offers that as an avenue. I'm not saying that every athlete would want to be under a multi-year contract or anything like that, but it provides another avenue. And I do think that there are players who care about winning. I do think that there are players who care about being in the right situation. And I think that in some ways that is taken from them, right? So they may be willing to be the fifth or sixth player on a basketball team if they know that like the starting five is going to be there next year. But if all of them leave, then it's like, okay, maybe this is no longer the stable situation or the winning situation, and then they end up leaving too. We saw this with Carolina this year. I don't think we're bringing back any of like our top 6 or 7 players in terms of minutes from last year, except for, what's his name? The guy who gives me fits. If my mom was watching, she would let me know. Seth Trimble, that's it. Like, I think he's like the only returning player who got like quality minutes last year on our team. And then we had to completely rebuild a new team. And it wasn't just it was because like the starting like 4 people started to leave. So even if you're number 6 or 7, then you're like, okay, this is no longer like the structure for winning. And so then you're also going to leave. And so I don't think that everybody is just chasing money. I do think that there are people who care about winning, but sometimes that's disrupted for you because other people start leaving and then those situations change. But I think what being paid as an employee does is offer some stability to the market and some avenues, both in terms of players and their money and being able. DJ Ulangale was who I was thinking about for Florida State, where he came after Jordan Travis left, supposed to be Florida State's redemption year from being, they believed snubbed for the playoffs. But he came, had all these NIL deals, and the more he was on the field, the more that money got pulled away because he was terrible.
Right.
And so, but like that's, and then he just kind of like quit on the team, and there was like all this dissension and stuff because he still wanted the money, even though he wasn't producing. And so like NIL is more tied to like production and also tied to the person paying out the money, how they evaluate you versus like a contract where there's some stability there and there's some assurances and you can collect things. I mean, if they really pay them like employees, then they would still have some money coming in, even if they were hurt, even if that's in the form of like unemployment insurance or in terms of like medical care, what we see oftentimes with athletes, and this comes up a lot in both the NFL and the NBA, is that the medical teams at these colleges, unless you're like in Alabama, is not the quality of like an NFL team or an NBA team. And so you see people get hurt. Their injuries aren't treated necessarily the right way. They end up leaving school. They go to like the NFL and their medicals are not where they're supposed to be because they're like, this isn't fully healed or this surgery wasn't done well. And those sorts of things that aren't necessarily guaranteed at the college level when you're kind of responsible for paying for things for yourself or doing it on the benevolence of alumni, right? Versus guaranteed certain assurances. And so I think the other thing that it'll allow is continuity around money as well, in terms of if we can be above board with agents, then maybe I get my agent when I'm a sophomore in college or something, and then I'm able to keep that same agent through my pro career, right? So I have a relationship with somebody. The more that, again, like the field grows and steps up to keep up with everything that's like going on. I think it opens up avenues for more players to be agents in this space. There are a number of players who have negotiated their own contracts. Like I would love to see like Larry Fitzgerald become an agent for like college athletes. He was one of the first to like negotiate his own contracts himself. I think he would be great at that. Richard Sherman would be another player that I could see like becoming an agent and being and negotiating contracts, right? And for people who are familiar with negotiating contracts and not just NIL deals, which is something altogether different. And so it'll be more in their lane and I could see more players. I would love Chad Johnson, like Ocho, and just tell like buy cheap jewelry, learn how to do sew-ins and pedicures. That way you can take care of your woman and not pay for those services.
Oh, Lord, here we go.
I would love for him to be my financial manager.
Oh, goodness.
So I think there's more opportunity that opens up the more above board the transactions are and the more similar they are to financial mechanisms that exist in other spaces. Right.
Yep. So great conversation. I know, Bunny, you have to leave very soon, so I want to go ahead and jump right into it. For people who's watching this show and see my head turn like this, I do have the NBA Finals on. This is a sports show, so we will be looking over like this. We might hear a ooh, a ah, might get a reaction because that's just sports. So we apologize in advance. Actually, we don't because this is a sports talk show. So, Bunny, let's get right into it real quick. NBA Finals. We have, of course, a 1-1 series tie as the game is going on right now. OKC is up 29-23 in the first quarter over the Pacers. Thoughts so far on the series. And Annie, just so you know, last week on Ladies Night, there has been a bet, a wager between my wife and Bunny that if the Pacers win this series, that my wife will have me make her a shirt that says Bunny was wrong. And if Bunny wins, Bunny has to have a shirt. I guess she might have Bunny was right or something like that. And something about rocking a tiara. Bunny, please let me know if I'm wrong. Am I right? Let me know. Okay, she says I'm right. So yeah. So Bunny, just go ahead and give me your thoughts in regards to the series and how confident are you in your bet at this time?
I'm confident the OKC Thunders will be crowned the NBA champions of the 2025 NBA season. Okay. I get Jayon said was on that winning streak with that first game. Again, one game, y'all. It's a whole series. I initially said the Thunder in 6. Even if it goes to 7 games, they're still going to prevail. I will confirm that. So, as Chris told me, the first game, the Pacers did an unbelievable comeback. And of course, they did that against the Knicks. But he said they can't do that 2 games in a row. And they didn't do that comeback in the second game. He's like, no, that ain't sustainable. I said, okay. And of course, the Thunder prevail game 2. Game 3 on the road, they're going to still win from the Pacers. But I can still see them doing at least 2 in a row against the Pacers. So I'm confident they'll win. And again, also look at how they play. The Pacers and the Thunder, they have some similarities. I just said overall before the series started, the Thunder's a little younger. Them young boys, I mean, that they were showing a little immaturity in the first game, specifically in the fourth quarter. But other than that, they're younger. Their bench is still scoring. Like they're that deal. Like that is a team now. The defense is there, of course. Like they check out the boxes that you want out of the team, and they're coachable. So I definitely understand why. And y'all know when the NBA draft comes up, everybody looks at the hype of who's in the top 10. These younger players transform your organization quick, especially when they put the right pieces around them. And SGA is proving it. And of course, he ain't doing it by himself, but he is leading the pack. So yes, the Thunder. I still say Thunder in 6.
Okay, got the confidence. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. So I will go ahead and say, and I've been saying this before the series even started. A lot of people are mad because it's not a big market team. They don't have all the big superstars playing the whole nine. But this, I feel, will be a 7 game series, and it's going to be, as it is already right now, a great NBA Finals. For those who want the big market, of course, it'll look sexy to have it. But if you truly appreciate good basketball, that's what you're going to be experiencing for this series from the depth of the players. So both teams can play like 10, 11 guys, the coaching strategies, and then you're seeing the emergence of a brand new NBA in which we're not depending on a big three, as the man cave brought up a few weeks ago. You're starting to see a lot of guys on these teams that have grown with the organization. Once again, continuity, buddy. They have grown together and built something solid, and then you bring in that one piece or two, like the Pacers traded for Halliburton 3 years ago, but now look where he's gotten them. And then they brought in Pascal Siakam last year. He was like the perfect addition to that team. And as Annie brought up, how SGA was traded from the Clippers to now OKC, and you see what he's been doing and how they add a little piece like Caruso from last year, Harvesting from the Knicks last year. You just adding certain pieces to make that puzzle complete. So you're seeing a different change in the NBA. I think it's amazing because now you don't have to say, "Oh well, it's a one man show and this one man don't do it. It's a wrap." You're seeing a team come, two teams actually come together and play amazing ball. So I still have. I came into the season, not the playoffs, but the season with OKC going to the finals because I just saw the depth. I saw the team was hungry and was ready. Now I did have the Celtics going to the finals, but you see a lot has happened with the Boston Celtics since the playoffs started. So with that being said, I do have a 7 game series, and I'm still go. I'm gonna ride with OKC just because I feel they just have a better team. But once again, it's going to be an amazing series. Anna, your thoughts on the series?
So I am rooting for Indiana. I know that OKC probably top to bottom has the better team. But what's the fun in that? I want to see the underdogs win. I want to see some more drama if Halliburton goes to step forward for getting finals MVP and gets clowned and it gets given to Siakam or somebody else. I love a good dramatic TV moment. I just like the way that, other than McConnell irks my soul.
Yeah.
I'm like, did he play for Duke? Because he just irks me like someone who used to play for Duke. I don't think he did, but he plays like someone who went to Duke. But other than that, like I really like their team. I think it's interesting, like the number of, I was talking with a friend about this yesterday, like the number of Canadians, like both teams have 2 starters who are from Canada. So it's like the Canada versus Canada NBA finals kind of. And so I think like that's interesting. I think if you're a fan of basketball, this is still a good finals. I think if you're a fan of nostalgia and these aren't teams that you're really familiar with, then this seems like not a good matchup. But I think if you're a fan of actually watching basketball, these are two high-paced teams. OKC is a good defensive team, night in, night out. The Pacers do it sometimes. It depends. So if you like defense and you yearn for low-scoring games, like this is a good series. So yeah, so I think it's interesting. I think it's exciting. I don't think it'll go to 7. But I am rooting for Indiana.
So TJ McConnell he did play for Duke, but not Duke University. He played for the Duquesne Dukes. And
he went to Pittsburgh? Oh my goodness.
Then he transferred to Arizona Wildcats.
Maybe that's why he irks my soul, because he was in Pittsburgh.
So there we go there. Once again, NBA Finals is amazing. Hope y'all been enjoying and checking it out. One last thing in the NBA that I want to bring up, Bunny, before you go, is that the NBA has brought out a new All-Star game format for next season. Everyone was talking about it, and they pretty much didn't like how you had the whole tournament style NBA All-Star game last year. Well, may have something that may actually work, which is they're going to do the USA versus the world, similar to NHL, in which we all saw how the NHL world came together, and they just love how you had the Four Nations tournament. This one, of course, will just be one game. So what I'm assuming is that, of course, you have your All-Star game picks like normal, but then it'll be separated with USA on one side versus the world. So you may have the Giannis's and SGA's and Jokic and so many other great players all on one team versus the Steph Curry's, LeBron's, KD's, etc. And once again, this is something that people have been asking for, and you playing for your country as well. Not the Olympics, we know that, but it's still some pride in playing against a different country or countries if you're USA. So with that being said, do y'all feel that this is the right way to go? This is the solution for the NBA in regards to the NBA All-Star game? I'll go start with you first, Annie.
Oh, do we want to let Bunny go first since Bunny has to go soon?
Bunny, you want to go ahead and go?
Yes. It's nothing wrong tweaking it, trying something different. I'm cool with it. I mean, until the love for the game, until that Kobe Bryant fire is lit into some of these players, the All-Star game is not gonna be what we like they used to be, where people actually competed and loved it without throwing extra incentives in it. But let's try it out and let's see if that helps. I mean, at this point, they're gonna keep tweaking it and they try as much as they can, which I appreciate it, but y'all gotta look at it. It's all on the player. You gotta have that hunger where I'm gonna show up. I'm not scared if I may get injured from trying to compete. You see what they do in 3-on-3, don't quote unquote the AARP league, but they still competing hard. And I mean, of course, they don't have a $1 million contract, but that's what we want to see. That's just an inner flame in you. The Kobe Bryant, like I said, come like I'm competing. I don't care. I'm in the Drew League. I don't care. I'm gonna pick up on a blacktop in the neighborhood. I'm still always gonna compete. That's what we need. But try international players against the USA. Let's see if that works. I'm for it.
Yeah, and Miss Dub was asking what happens if the world players outnumber the U.S. players. It's going to be an allocated amount of spots for both teams, so the league will make sure that it's going to be even on both sides. It won't be like, oh, it's too many foreigners. But however they get the process in regards to picking players, I'm pretty sure it's going to be in regards to making sure we have X amount of world players and X amount of USA players representing for both teams. So that shouldn't be a problem at all. So with that being said, Bunny, did you have any last words before you had to go ahead and depart us for the evening?
My background is noisy. I couldn't hear the question. Sorry.
Oh, I was asking, did you have any last words before you had to go ahead and leave?
Never mind. Jayon said I can't wait. That's all I can say. I'm keeping it PG, so can't wait, Jayon say. Thunder and Six.
All right. Well, you keep on cooking in the kitchen, and we'll catch up with you next week, Bunny.
All right. Have a good night, everyone. Good night.
Bye.
All right. Now, let me go ahead and there we go. Add Annie on. Just me and you, Annie. We're gonna hold these down. Yeah, your thoughts in regards to the format.
I think it's a terrible idea. I think the USA is going to get killed. And I think they're going to wish that they hadn't done this because it's going to be embarrassing for the USA.
Maybe they'll light a fire. We'll see. We'll see because I mean the foreigners, they are very, 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 very talented. This is not your old 1992 NBA Dream Team type teams anymore. It's some talent out there. Even if for those who watched the Olympics this past summer, yes, USA was undefeated, but it wasn't easy going. What was that country that had the all black uh, jerseys and they came in with the all black suits and everything?
Nigeria?
Yeah, like even that squad, you know what I'm saying? They came in like, okay, and they didn't have, I don't think, one NBA player on their team. They just had Luol Deng as the coach. But yes, international players, they are taking over the game. And that's why I said I hope that it lights a fire for Team USA to be like, okay, we can't lollygag or we can't let them embarrass us. We'll see. Now, of course, the NBA All-Star game is still what you want to call it, a grand exhibition game. But let's see if this can be the possible solution. Because if not, if this don't work and it's not competitive, they're going to just cut the NBA All-Star game as a whole and just do All-Star weekend or whatever it is. Have the dunk contest, the three-point contest, and skills competition and call it a day if this does not work. So it's going to be a lot of pressure on these NBA players to actually play. Because I thought last year was going to be good. It started off kind of good, but then the championship game was terrible. It was like they just didn't care no more. But I thought it would have been competitive, but we'll see what happens there. But that's our NBA talk for today. Now,
wait, before we go, two things.
Okay.
So one, my dad clarified that TJ McConnell is from Bethel Park, which is a suburb of Pittsburgh. And that explains why McConnell irks my soul. The fact that he's from Bethel Park. If you're from Pittsburgh, you know. So that explained so much, knowing that McConnell is from Bethel Park.
Shout out to Pops. So, Pops.
Hey, Daddy. Then my mom also texted me. She didn't put this in the YouTube, but she said that coaches need to do like Deion Sanders, where he not only brings in financial managers, he also brought in Brittany Renner to talk to a couple of the teams about IG gold diggers and what they're looking for and how to protect yourself against a gold digger.
That's fact.
As well as bringing in NFL players who had lost all their money and what were the mistakes that they made. And so I second that from my mom, that it's not just bringing in financial planners, but bring in the people who are trying to grift you. And being like, here's how you look like a mark, and here's how I take your money.
And because it goes back to what I said earlier, that once you are getting the NIL deal, or once you are getting that money from a school, I know you're 17 or 18, but you're gonna be treated like an adult now, and you have to learn now how to handle yourself as an adult. not just as a teenager who just had their high school prom. You're about to be dealing with an adult life. You have to make adult decisions. So as you said, like what Dion did, having this person come to the school and talk and pretty much bring some sense, some common sense into these players' mindset because the world has changed. So that's why I said earlier in regards to I hope that when they get this money, it doesn't diminish the product of the game because they're thinking, oh, here we go. Now I can go ahead and buy this and get that and get this and get the Brittany Renner, whatever. And then it takes away from their game on the court and the reason why you actually went to this school and that school or whatever. So yeah, I definitely agree with that. Miss Dub says she likes that idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And then as far as like the US, in terms of maybe the US players might step their game up, I don't think it's a matter of if they want to. I think the best US players are older, and we saw that in the Olympics too. And Dion just went up a notch in your estimation for Miss Williams. I think the best US players are older. Right. I think, yeah, I just don't see it. I just don't think that the best, like, young NBA all-stars are as good as the world's all-stars. I think it would be different if it's an Olympic team where you are putting together like different pieces. And so you don't need everybody. You need a Halliburton on your team, or you need a Drew Holiday on your team, right? You need those people, or like a Derek White or somebody. Like, you need those people when you're completing a whole team. But if you're just like, who are the 12 best US players versus who are the 12 best like world players, I also think there's more like positional diversity and flexibility among who the top 12 world players are. I think a lot of the best like NBA players, if you're just doing like a top 12 ranking, are like guard through small forward. And so I think we lose some size if it's just like, the all-stars and not just US build your best team, which would have some people like a Derek White or have some people like a Drew Holiday. But if you're just like, this is the all-stars, in which case we just take like the 12 best players from each of them, I think it puts the US at a disadvantage. There's a whole lot of TJ McConnell on my screen right now, and I don't get it. Why is there so much TJ McConnell on right now? Where is Halliburton? Is he hurt? What did I miss? Why do I keep seeing TJ McConnell?
Yeah, and he making buckets too. So, and the steal just happened.
He's sometimes
I love buckets. It. I love it.
I can't stand it. I don't know why. This is only happening during this show.
Right.
Because they know how much I despise TJ McConnell and his play.
But you want the Pacers to win. And
I want the Pacers to win. This is the conundrum that I found myself in for a lot of my early Clipper years, where I was like, how can the Clippers win? But who's the guy who coaches the Lakers, played at Duke?
JJ Redick.
Yes. When he played for the Clippers, it's like, how can JJ Redick lose, but the Clippers win? I felt the same way in LeBron's Heat years, where I was like, who was the guy with the ruffled head?
Shane Battier.
Yeah, Shane Battier. Like, how can Battier? I'm glad that I said the guy with the ruffled head and you knew exactly who I was talking about. That should tell you how messed up his head was.
I already knew before because he was the Duke. So I already knew, but, you did make it that much easier.
Right. It was like, how can the Heat win? How can LeBron get his championships, but Battier somehow lose? So that's how I feel about the Pacers. I'm like, how can McConnell lose, but the Pacers still win? And I need to know what's going on with Halliburton. I need to know why he's not out there and why we're getting so much. I don't know who paid Indiana to give TJ McConnell this much playing time, but I think it should be looked into. I feel like this is a conspiracy of some sort.
Right. Let's make her mad. All right. Well, speaking of making people mad, the Battlehawks they they had a game this past Sunday in which, just like last year, if they would have won the game, they would have been playing for the entire UFL championship. Last year, they had the opportunity and they faced the San Antonio Brahmas, and they played them a week prior, barely beat them. Came back in the fourth quarter, barely beat them. Then the following week, offense did not show up. It was just a straight dud. So, going to this past Sunday, wife and I, baby girl, we went to the game. We were expecting a great game. And the exact opposite happened, in which another thud happened. The Battlehawks got whooped 36-18, I believe, and their season came to a very disappointing end. Which, if you're watching right now on the screen, that's the XFL trophy. So you have the XFL League and the USFL League, and that's the XFL League, and that's our mascot that was right by the trophy that we did not get, and it was very disappointing. And I thought about a few things leaving the game. And I told my wife this, and I was like, and I was saying it even before the season, but I am afraid that may be the Battlehawks' last opportunity to win a championship for two reasons. One, because this team just can't, for some reason, get over the hump when the lights are bright and it's time, especially when you have pretty much home field advantage. And for 2 years in a row, you did not get over the hump, which goes to coaching. Last week on Ladies' Night, they talked about Coach Thibodeau, how he got the Knicks to the championship, and to the Eastern Conference Championship Finals, and he got fired a couple days later. The Dallas Stars head coach in hockey, he took them to the Western Conference Finals the last 3 years. He got let go. As great of an advocate and representative that Coach Anthony Beck has been for the Battlehawks, maybe it's just time to go ahead and step aside too. Because if for some reason you just can't get your team to be prepared to play the most meaningful game of the season, not the first or second game, but the most meaningful game of the season, and for 2 years in a row, your team does not show up and they're flat and they look unprepared. Second thing, I went to the home opener. And normally home openers, you're expecting a very great turnout. And the UFL has been dependent on St. Louis to have great turnouts. I went to the game and I was highly disappointed in the turnout. They said there were 30,000 people. It looked like it was about 15,000. That's how bad it looked. And throughout the whole season, it still wasn't a turnout. Going to last Sunday, it's a big game. You want to have a great showing, and it was another disappointing turnout. So many red and blue seats, and I ain't even talking about the top tier level. I'm talking about the lower bowl. It was just like, what happened? And I feel, and I said this before on a previous show, that maybe St. Louis fans are getting fatigued now. It's like, okay, well, we came out the first couple of years because we wanted to prove to Stan Kroenke and to the NFL that we are a true football team or football town, which we all know that. But at the same token, it's like, okay, well, we did that. Now it's like, maybe I can do something else now. And I think that St. Louis fans are showing that even though the UFL is dependent on us, that's why we have the UFL championship the last 2 years, because they were on the assumption too, the UFL, that St. Louis might be in that championship game, which means more ratings. Of course, more people, more ratings, more money. And these last 2 years now has been a bust. And that's going to hurt, I feel, the product. They may not say it in public, but I feel that that may hurt the product. And Miss Dub says, yes, choked again. Reminds me of the Cavaliers with LeBron the first time. They would be great all season and then tanking the playoffs. You have to go to another level in the playoffs, and the better Hawks haven't learned how to do that yet. And I'm afraid that they may not get the opportunity to do so. Um, and then just overall in the league, uh, the Battlehawks average 30 some thousand people. Everyone else is like 15, 10, 5. And it is not a good look on TV. It is just not. The only way that they can continue to ride this wave is, as I said a long time ago, that it needs to be a partnership with the NFL. That's going to be the only way, in my eyes, that the UFL can stay afloat because you're not gaining a profit. It's like you're spending more money to pay the players. And that's why they all are practicing in a hub. If you don't know, every UFL team doesn't play or practice in their own cities. They only go into the city just to play the game. Then they're going back to a central hub in Texas. So you don't have that real home connection and vibe because the players are gone at least 24 hours after the game to go back to Texas. So the UFL, and we thought, and I thought that with The Rock being the face of it, that it would have brought in more things. The NFL could do something. Just any kind of innovative move to broaden this game. But the issue is that you have to start marketing more, go out to the markets like a St. Louis who was pissed that he lost the NFL team and reward that city a team. Go to San Diego or to Oakland who was craving football, and I guarantee you will see better turnouts. You can't keep going to Texas because you got, the Texans and the Cowboys already. You got that. So you can't expect it to keep on having these huge crowds. But go to different markets that are craving football. And that's when you'll start seeing better results. If they don't do that, or if the NFL doesn't come in and maybe have the UFL be like that minor league system, that development league, then it's gonna go down. And I think the chances of the Battlehawks winning the championship, going back to my first point, they have two chances, and I don't think they have another chance at all. Miss Dub says it's sad that our poorest attendance is still the best in the league. Exactly. Then she agrees you need support from the NFL to keep the league going for 10, 20 years until it catches on like the WNBA. And The Rock, and that's something else too. The Rock has not came to St. Louis for a game. Out of all the markets to go to, knowing that St. Louis is the best market for your league, and you still have not shown up. That was a huge miss by the Rock. So those are my points from the Battlehawks. That game really it was really, really disappointing. Like no life at all, no offense. It was all bad. And I'm like, you know what? That might be a microcosm to the UFL that it is not going to be successful. Any takeaways from you, Annie?
I love seeing St. Louis fans in misery. So I can't say that I'm not glad that they lost. But that's what you get for supporting the wrong football team in St. Louis. You have a 5-time national champion football team there, and this land would love for 15,000 people to come to their games. And so if you want to see the number one offense in the entire WFA, you'll go to a Slam game and not a Battlehawks game. Supposedly our defense is ranked number 3, but I don't understand how that's possible. my hit squad is always number one. So I think they just maybe forgot to carry a one somewhere in those rankings. But you're supporting the wrong team. I wish 15,000 people would turn out to watch the Slam. I think there's an oversaturation of sports happening with St. Louis, though. The St. Louis metro area only has about 1 million people in it. It's not the size that it once was. And now you have like the soccer team is also there competing for interest.
Right.
You have the Battlehawks that are there competing for interest. You of course have the Cardinals and you have the Blues. And so it's a lot of teams competing in what is actually not that large of a market. Like St. Louis goes hard for their sports, but I do think that there is a certain like saturation level for a metropolitan area that only has about 1 million people in it. And so I think that that is part of the issue. I think it was a novelty that people were excited about at first, but I think to have that like grounding in the community, you're right. Like those players have to be there. They have to see them in the off season. They have to, shake hands and kiss babies. And they're not there. Like they're not actually a homegrown team. You're not going to like run into them at a Schnucks, right? Because they don't really like live there. Whereas like you might run into, depending on which Schnucks you went to, like you might run into a Rams player when the Rams were there. And so it felt like, yeah, that's my team. We go to the same Schnucks. I'm gonna go see them play, right? But you miss that when the team isn't there like year round and they're not really a homegrown team. They're just a team that plays their home games in your unused stadium. And so if you really want to stick it to them, if you really want to show the XFL what's up, start a petition, start a rally, start a transportation chain, and get everybody to show up for the Slam's first playoff game. Crowd out St. Mary's High School Stadium, show up with 15,000 people at that high school stadium for the Slam's first home playoff game. If you want to show the XFL that St. Louis fans are serious about football. That's my challenge to the city of St. Louis.
There we go. I ain't mad at you. Support, support, support. So our last topic, more so, I guess, from my point of view, is the. There we go. All right, they are now in past 60 games in the season, and Bunny always says, "Let's wait till Flag Day, June 14th." Well, June 14th is a couple of days away, and now it's getting time to the point. It's getting to the point, excuse me, where we have to see, okay, is this team serious or not? And from my observation, every time I come into this segment, I come into it one way, but then the team does something the same exact day that had me want to change my mindset, and I hate it. But I got to keep it 100. It's been refreshing to see this team play the way they have been playing. Yes, right now they may be five and a half games out of first place now, but they have been playing much better than a lot of people's expectations. However, if they still roll out with this same exact team in regards to the players going to the end of the year, they're not going to get to the playoffs. It's going to be probably a fade out going into September and October, because the cream, as they say, rises to the top. And I don't feel that the Cardinals have enough players, good players, that can consistently bring winning important series down the line. Even right now, they have a stretch of games where they play the Royals, they play the Dodgers. Both Dodgers they did win that series. The Royals lost that series. They just got done playing the Blue Jays, lost that series. Now they're about to go to Milwaukee and play a full game series. Then you got the Reds. Then you got the first place Cubs. So this season could really be dependent on these next few weeks right here, that could change and define our season. And I mentioned this to Joe, and I appreciate what he's been doing this year. He wanted to stay at Cardinal, but we're constantly seeing a decline in Nolan Arenado. Um, right now, he's only good for just a moment or two. Outside of that, his batting average is like 240 something. He usually has been like a 280, 290 hitter. You can just see the decline. And it's like, well, let's just get to a point where if there's a perfect destination for him to go, like New York or the Dodgers or something like that, a team that needs a third baseman, doesn't have to be the guy, but just be a solid contributor, maybe make a way for him to leave, to get traded if he accepts and move on and just let younger guys play. Because that's been the biggest issue with this team over the last couple of years is that you have so many guys who deserves the playing time but can't really get it because they're blocked by other guys. And the other guys aren't really like producing enough for me to be like, oh well, that's why they're playing every day. Like we're in that predicament right now with this team. Ryan Helsley, our closer. Yes, he was amazing last year, but what people fail to say and realize is that even though he may have led the NL in saves and had a streak of consecutive saves, there were moments where he did just get lucky, where he would walk two or three guys in a row and stress the whole team out. But then luckily he'll get the third out still. This year, he already has 5 blown saves. He had 4 all of last year. Find a trade partner and let's bring in some young talent, some guys who we can depend on down the line. Get rid of those guys. Get rid of some other players who just there's too many times where you're hoping for the best. It may come for a second, but then for the rest of the year, it just goes all downhill. We have too many players like that, and it's time to go ahead and let that go. Will that hurt the team getting to the playoffs? Maybe, maybe not. But it's getting to a point where the organization has to realize we need to shoot for this and stay in this road. Not say I'm going to do this, but then go the other way and keep flip flopping around. We need to get to one direction, like the group, and say, you know what, this is the path, and now let's go ahead and let these players go and allow these guys to start doing their thing and get better and better. That's how I feel with this team. Once again, they're relentless. They have been playing amazing at home, but they lost the last 2 series now. So I'm not sure if it's like, okay, well, now it's catching up to them. Because one of their biggest flaws has been they may have a good start. Certain players have a great start, but then the league catches up, and then you don't have an answer for making the adjustment. So I don't know. It's tough. I have been enjoying some because the youth has been playing a very good. The Mason Winds, Donovan, Ivan Herrera, Contreras, the veteran, guys like that. They've been holding things down. Respect to them. They're playing exciting ball, but you still have those others, offense and pitching, that it's time for them to go ahead and say, you know what, thank you for your time. Let's move on, and maybe that might bring a spark and bring better baseball and allow these other guys who may have been held back to get more playing time, and then they can finally shine. You never know, but that's just how I feel about this team right now, Annie. I know you can't speak on the Cardinals, but that team that you have on your cap right there, I know that they've been going through some things in regards to Pittsburgh, and I do feel bad for guys like Paul Skeens. Like he's probably like one of the best pitchers in all of baseball, and he's been playing incredible, but his record is like shoot, let me see real quick what his record is because it's if you look at his record, you would think, oh, he sucks, but that ain't the case. It's just that he's with a team that's not. I ain't gonna say a bad team because I don't want to disrespect you, Annie. I know you got high hopes for your team. I'm just gonna say they're just not playing as good as they could.
Do you want them?
Paul Skeens?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, definitely.
Because you know the Pirates just give away good players for like
yes, they do.
All you got to do is offer us cash, and we'll give you the best players on our team. So
I'm
enjoying Skeens while I can because I know he is not long for this world with the Pirates. My family and I were just talking about this not too long ago at like dinner, and I was like, he's gone at the first opportunity. And then in 10 years when he's old, he'll come back on like his farewell tour, kind of like McCutchen. Because that's what we do. We don't keep good players. So if you want him, I'm sure you can call up the Pirates organization and get him for like a couple bands and some toasted ravioli, I'm sure, because we don't even value our players well. But do you think that there are moves that can be made around the margins, or do you think there needs to be like a wholesale, like, are you considering it loss on this season, or do you feel hopeful that there are some moves that can be made in like the next 20 games around the margins?
You talking about the Cardinals?
Yeah, for the Cardinals, not for the Pirates. We have everything we need to win the pennant. Okay.
And just so you know, Paul Skeens is 4-6 right now. His ERA is 1.88. Oh my God. That is so amazing, but it's sad because he doesn't get the benefit of getting the win. So it's like any team he plays outside the Cardinals, a team scores less than 2 runs a game. But the problem is his own team may not score a run. So then it won't even matter. But going back to the Cardinals, their motto has been this year to give kids or players the runway, which normally means they don't plan on making any moves. Now, if this team is so competitive going into August, then they might have to shift gears and say, well, maybe we can add a piece or 2 or 3. But then it's like, well, is it worth it in the long run to do that? Because you may not guarantee to have the guys who you just traded to get to stay after 1 year. Because we haven't been an organization that wants to make a huge trade knowing that we can't keep a guy. The last example I can think of, the really big trade was getting Jason Hayward via trade, and he only played 1 year with us. Now, you know, he wasn't a superstar, but I feel like he was a great Cardinal, but he didn't stay. And they don't want to get burned by going all out and getting certain pieces, but can't get that person locked down for more than just 3-4 months. So they're in a bind that they created. But that's why I said before, some of these veterans who's been around for a minute, they're just not doing it anymore. And it may be a sign of, you know what, raising a white flag, or it could be a joke. But a joke is needed for this team because if you keep the same guys, you're going to continue to have that inconsistency. Like we earlier had like a 7-8 game winning streak. Ever since then, we haven't won more than maybe 2 games in a row since then. So you have that inconsistency. So it's tough. If Joe's watching, I'm sure she'll have a take on it as well. Because she even said on Instagram, I'm sorry, on the X about, you know, need to trade healthily, you know, need to do this, whatever. So we'll see. but I just can't see this team being successful in going to the playoffs or having a playoff run with this exact same roster. Moves have to be made, whether they look like you're giving up or you're trying to give a joke to the team and say, you know what, you have to let go of this guy. He's been a great service to our team, but it's time to let these other guys get more shine. And maybe that's been holding us back is that we haven't given the right guys the amount of shine that they need.
Hmm. It sounds a lot like the Steelers in many ways.
Oh yeah. Well, now I know you're not a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, but just talk about DK Metcalf and now Aaron Rodgers, all the Steelers.
Well, I think the thing with like the Steelers in terms of coaching and in terms of like ownership, I think that there is a certain culture of loyalty and like deference to seniority that is sometimes harmful to their team, that they're not day to day looking at who are the best 11 we can put on the field today, not who was good a year ago, not who has stuck it out with us, not who's older and seen as a leader on the team, but like who are the 11 best people today to put on the field. And so I think that's what I see with like the Cardinals organization, where it's an organization where being loyal to the players worked out really well for a long time. But that's not the current construction that you have now. And there has to be a change in mindset of who are the best people to put on the field today. Not who do we like, not who's been good to us, not who's been with us the longest, not who has seniority, but like who are the best people to be out there on the diamond today. And it's hard sometimes for an organization to have that like switch in mentality because it changes how you run your whole organization. It changes the culture. It changes everything to like how you practice and to what extent what happens in between games matters, right? Like if I know if I show out, I'm going to, get in the starting lineup or, I'm going to see more playing time versus, well, we already know this player got it. He's going to get this amount of minutes. Like whatever I'm doing in between games, like doesn't make a difference because they got their people. They like who they like. They put out who they put out and they're going to stick with them. And so it probably is really hard to have that change in mindset, especially with a team like the Cardinals. And again, for the Steelers for a long time, where the mindset that you had around loyalty, around trusting your veterans, stacking your team with veterans, not having a ton of young guys, was a formula that worked really well for a long time. And so it's hard to have that flip in like mindset and decide that we need to like on the whole think very differently about how we construct a team, but also how we manage a team. And who's the hot hand right now or who, needs to be out now, who needs rest. And that's going to rub some people the wrong way, but you have to decide, are you focused on loyalty or are you focused on winning? So.
And speaking of rubbing people the wrong way, I want to play this video because this is going on right now in the NFL.
Oh, I thought it was going to be TJ McConnell. I was like, no, he's definitely rubbing me the wrong way.
Now, this is Cincinnati Bengals rookie Shamar Stewart. Right now, he and the organization are at an impasse in regards to his contract, and he's not holding back in regards to his feelings. Check this out right here.
Like some people say, we all agree trade will be right, right? But technically, he's still 1% wrong for being under contract. So, in my case, I'm 100% right, so it should be a no-brainer. And in Trey's case, I think it should be a no-brainer too. I mean, he led 17 and a half sacks for 2 years back-to-back. If I was the GM or I was the owner, take all my money. But I guess they don't operate like that, but
So pretty much he's calling out the organization saying, y'all worried about arguing with me about this and that, and the focus needs to be on getting me on this team and getting me on the practice field because that right now they're going through training camps or OTA, whatever it is, and he can't even be a part of it. They showed a video of him by the water station, and like none of the people who send out water was giving him any water. Like that's how bad it is right now, and he's a rookie trying to get a paycheck. It's like, man, what's going on? And these players, as you see, they're not shy anymore. They're letting their feelings know whether you are a rookie or a 10-year vet. These players are not holding back anymore in regards to their feelings. So when you see that, Annie, what are your thoughts?
I mean, he's definitely right about Trey Hendricks, that the Bengals just need to pay him. But I mean, like he's a rookie. I mean, whatever. But Trey Hendricks for sure, like get that deal done. I think this is why I don't like salary caps in sports. Because go ahead and like come up off the money. And what the Bengals are trying to navigate is the other thing that players aren't necessarily doing now, speaking of like younger players, is that they are less likely to take money out of their pockets to give to someone else in order to keep a team together or to get a particular player. And so you have like 2 wide receivers that you probably want to keep and want to play. You have Joe Burrow that you want to keep. Like you have other players on that team that you want to keep. And in a salary cap sport, like there literally is not enough to go around. The thing about the Bengals and probably like maybe the Cardinals that's different from a team like the Pirates is that they probably have like a win now roster. Like they probably have enough moves to be made to be competitive with the Ravens, or to be competitive like in the conference overall. Versus teams where it's like we're so far away from getting to goal that like it doesn't matter what we do. So yeah, I think players on other teams should be more outspoken. I wish the Cowboys would shut up. Like I hate that Micah Parsons has a podcast. I don't want to hear him talk about anything. Just go out there and play. But I like other people speaking out. But also you have fewer people taking hometown discounts and being willing to give up some of their money in order to enlarge in the pie for other people. And so you're going to see both more, I think this is the highest year, if I'm not mistaken, the last time I read, of like drafted rookies who are not yet under contract. We're seeing rookie contract deals get done later and later, where just because someone is drafted doesn't mean they're under contract yet with their particular team. And so I think you'll see that happening more and more. But I don't think, and this goes back to like the XFL conversation, I don't think deals will not get done because there's not really an alternative, right? So you see like the book that's coming out by Steve Wickersham around like Caleb Williams and his father, where they were like, well, what if he goes to the Canadian Football League for a year? Then can he come in as like a undrafted free agent to the NFL and not get drafted to like the Bears and stuff? And there's just not an alternative system for the players to really have a leverage of, well, either you pay me what I want and we get this deal done in a way that is favorable towards me, or I'm going to do X. There's not really an I'm going to do X for people. So the deals will get done, but they are getting done later and later. And we're seeing more rookies that have been drafted but aren't under contract. And you're seeing more people missing because we're out of OTAs now. We're now in mandatory minicamp, which is why the Rodgers deal had to get done on like the last day, because we're past like the optional stuff and we're now into like the you lose money territory for not being at things. And so it'll be interesting, to say the least. But no, I don't have a problem with people speaking up about not getting their money. I just don't know that, like, for that particular young man, what he's going to do and what he's in a position to do.
You ain't play one down and you already talking stuff. But
yeah, he's not going to get paid ahead of Hendrix, so that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, one thing for sure, this has been a great show, and glad to have you back on the Platform Sports Talk Show Network, Annie. And look forward to having you back on the main show and, of course, on Ladies Night as well. And thank you for just reaching back out and being available.
Of course. Looking forward to a summer with you all. Like I said, Pirates are going to win the pennant, so this will be a great summer for us to be together as we both enjoy the Pirates' turnaround and their slow march to victory together. Thank you for joining me on this journey.
Oh, it's going to be an incredible journey. What a ride it's going to be. But for everyone else, thank you for tuning in. It is the main show, yours truly, along with Annie. Shouts out to Bunny for being on early on. Everyone else, give us a follow all across social media. Miss Dub, thank you for tuning in as well. Leave the comments. Everyone else, don't be shy. I see the people watching tuned in. Leave comments for this and all future shows, questions, the whole nine. If you are also, if y'all know someone that would be a great person for us to maybe have as a special guest, shoot us an email, platformsportstalkshow@gmail.com. Outside of that, we also can go out to events as well, like maybe a St. Louis Slam event or whatever else is going on in the area, and get some nice in-depth on the spot interviews going on. Shoot us an email once again, platformsportstalkshow@gmail.com. Give us a follow all across social media, from Facebook to the X to Instagram. Go on YouTube, subscribe, and click on that bell. Also, you can listen in on Hot 365 Radio on their website or via the App Store, iOS or Google. They got y'all covered. Hope y'all have a wonderful rest of y'all day and week. The Pacers are up at half. About to sit back and enjoy the rest of this game and so much more. So, on the Platform Sports Talk Show Network, y'all have a great rest of y'all evening and week.
What you have just experienced was brought to you by Smoooth Productions. Until next time, stay tuned and stay smooth.